said he wandered very far, very far, over land and sea.
You sure about this, Captain?
How do you mean?
We don't know what the fuck's out there.
So I think the interesting thing about reviewing Alien Covenant with you is that you don't have any opinion on Prometheus because you haven't seen it.
I've never seen Prometheus.
Because I've often felt that how you feel about Covenant would probably have a direct relation to how you felt about Prometheus. If you really embraced the sort of highfalutin sci-fi angle that they were trying to lean into in Prometheus, you're going to probably feel kicked in the balls by Covenant, because compared to Prometheus, this is a straight up monster movie. Like, two people fucking in a shower get attacked by an alien.
Yeah, that was a hilarious scene, by the way. That was a very Deep Star 6 moment to me.
Completely unpretentious, right? Like almost the opposite of what you covered. It's just like so industry standard. It's like, oh, so we're doing this now.
Although I thought there were big swaths of pretentiousness in Alien Covenant.
Well, again, having not seen Prometheus, yeah, I guess we'll start setup here.
Okay.
A crew of people who are going to settle a new planet find a planet en route that looks like it would be habitable and much easier than the original setup they were going to have.
So, no, wait, you got to back up even further, where it's the colonist ship in cryosleep,
right?
And then they deploy the
alarm.
Well, the sails to suck in solar energy, and then there's a solar storm which causes an overload, and some people, including the captain of the ship, get burned up in their cryopods.
Right. So they didn't just abandon their initial mission. There's mitigating factors. For me, it feels like the movie really starts when they get to this planet. We're wondering what happened to David and Shaw at the end of Prometheus. They take off together to try and find the people, the engineers, as they're called. I
don't know who David and Shaw are,
okay.
Or the engineers. I assume that's the planet full of guys that look like Leonard Cohen that I didn't fully understand.
Yes. So in Prometheus, at the end, the only two survivors, which is David, this robot, Michael Fassbender, and Shaw, fly away to try and find the origin planet of these guys they call the engineers, which we find out in Prometheus created us, and then later we assumed created these aliens as a mean to destroy us. They made our world, they studied our world, and now they decided our world needed to be shut down. So all of the people on that expedition are killed except for Shaw and David. They fly off to find the engineers, and then we start with this whole new crew. They find this planet, and the only person, or the only robot on the planet, is the Michael Fassbender robot. Interestingly enough, they have a Michael Fassbender model on their ship as well. So Fassbender is doing double duties. Mm-hmm. He was sinister in the first movie, Prometheus, but you couldn't decide if it was his personal motivations or if he was programmed. Classic robot thing. For this movie, he's bad. Yeah. In fact, Shaw becomes a medical experiment to him. All of those medical journals that he had with this woman in the pictures, that was Shaw.
Yeah, he'd done gross skin grafting to her face. And
so essentially she did not survive. Basically Prometheus, that actress wasn't going to return. We have a whole
And that was Charlize Theron, right?
No, Charlize Theron was also in that movie, but she got crushed in a really stupid way.
Oh yeah, so that's all I ever hear about Prometheus is she wasn't running away properly.
Move 12 feet to the right or left, you live through that movie.
But I read a book or an article saying that people run straight anyway. That's not that out of character.
Well, that's the interesting about alien movies. There are people who will voraciously want to defend or, it's great, you're a fucking idiot, it's amazing. Whereas I found Prometheus to be frustrating. Like, I, in the end, just didn't like it. I don't have the same amount of hate with Covenant. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's another Alien sequel, and considering that Ridley Scott directed it, it should have been a lot better than it was.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe slightly worse than Alien 4, where you have this crew of people all with their interesting personalities that go somewhere and they have guns and they kind of get picked off one by one, and it's that formula.
Right.
A lot of the plot hinges on these people being stupid idiots in almost every situation, which is... You don't want to fight the movie too much, but it's really frustrating that they are on this new planet that they've never seen before, and they know they can breathe, but they decide not to wear any kind of
protection
spacesuits. And, like, script-wise, because what's going to happen, spoilers from this point forward, is the evil robots created these spores of little micro nanobots that get in their ears and start killing them and then turning them into aliens.
Basically, they can impregnate people with aliens with this almost fungal sort of stuff, instead of being traditionally face-hugged.
Yeah, although there are face-huggers as well.
But this is, again, a prequel to the rest of the alien stuff. I guess they sort of evolve into that progressively. But in this version, they disturb a plant on the ground, and these spores come up and fuck them up, and then an alien pops out of them.
Yeah, so they evolve into something that's far less efficient at reproducing. But whatever. But I mean, even from a screenwriting point of view, okay, they want to get the alien bugs in at least one or two of these people so we can get the plot going. But you've got an evil character that they don't know is evil. Why not just have them not be stupid idiots, wear spacesuits, and have them sabotage it or something? That's, you just do that, and then you have less questions about why everybody's doing stupid things.
I agree 100%. It's the same problem in Prometheus, but why I find it less so here. In Prometheus, there was they spent a lot of time introducing these people, and in order to be on this voyage to find the, creators of our universe, you'd have to be one of the smartest, most capable people in your field. So they establish that, and then they show us them repeatedly doing unbelievably stupid things. In this version, the people are kind of in a panic mode. They're on their heels a little bit, and it's much more of a traditional monster movie. So because it doesn't have that pretentious pretext of being a grand piece of sci-fi, and it's much more okay with just being a monster movie, I'm much more okay with them making the dumb decisions. Or else the dumb decisions that are only dumb decisions because the characters don't understand context. There's that scene where one person is about to erupt with an alien, he's having a fit, and the other crew member, not knowing what's going on, just hugs him.
Yeah. That was really sad.
Right?
There were a couple of moments of genuine pathos in this, for sure.
Yeah. Danny McBride, who's traditionally a comic actor, gets to play a serious role in this movie.
And James Franco. We've got two people from Pineapple Express.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I didn't put that, and this is the end. I didn't even put that together. This is the previous episode to this we reviewed. This is the end with McBride. Or as my buddy Scott refers, fucking McBride.
He's really one of the most charismatic characters in this.
I really liked him. I really liked him. It's one of those classic things, and they didn't ask him to do anything too overtly funny, but they also didn't take too much. He still sort of felt like Danny McBride to me.
Yeah.
But I liked him. I liked that he was a very sort of sympathetic character. I felt for him when he found out that his wife had been killed. I'm glad he didn't know how bad it was for her.
I also liked Billy Crudup. Crudup?
One of those.
As the... So James Franco appears basically in like a home video, and he's the captain of the ship that burns up in the first minute or so of this movie.
Yeah.
And so the next in line is Billy Crudup, who is one of those characters when he takes the captaincy role, and you're not sure, like he's not comfortable in the role, and you can tell he's not quite sure the best way to proceed. And I think a lesser movie, he would have been really inept in making bad decisions all the way and forcing it through because he was self-conscious, or else making no decisions and getting them all killed. I thought they actually did a really good job. He was a character that was quite sympathetic for me, of having somebody who wasn't comfortable in his role, was making what he thought was the best decision. And like, he was the one that wanted to land on the planet, even though... I guess our protagonist, whose name I can't remember, but the daughter of Jack McCoy from Law & Order, who looks exactly like a cute version of Jack McCoy from Law & Order.
Which is strange. Waterston. Can't remember her first name either right
now. She doesn't want to go onto the planet, and then it's a little bit of a push back and forth between them, but eventually he says, no, this is my order, we're going to go there. And then it turns out to be an alien horror death planet. But of course, his decision still wasn't all that bad, because what are the chances it's going to be an alien horror death planet? And she's not too much of a jerk about it.
The character echoes back to Gorman in Aliens.
Right.
Who was put in charge for the first time in this trek, and it becomes a total shit show. He fucks it up, he knows he fucks it up, and he tries to make up for it. That's sort of exactly what we have here with the Crudup character, although I don't think he gets to redeem himself in any way. Basically,
well, he kills an alien, and then he dies in the most stupid horror movie way.
Yeah. And again, this is where we get into the Star Trek, I'm an alien nerd thing. But this is one thing that has never been consistent in any of the Aliens movies. And like maybe with Aliens vs. Predator, we can shrug them off as just a comic book parallel universe. But how long do the aliens gestate? Seriously. Is it a couple of days, a couple of hours, or a couple of minutes? It's whatever the screenplay needs it to be.
I was really thinking about that when a guy got a face hugger on his face for about 25 seconds, and then they got it off. And then he's got an alien in his chest later, but like... So it only takes like a second, and then they've shoved their ovipositors down your throat, and you're impregnated. Because in the first Alien movie, it was like a few days, so I would have assumed it was a long-ish process.
Yeah, but again, this movie it goes on to almost exaggerate that. The character you're talking about, Billy Crudup character, gets very coldly murdered by the evil robot, and when the alien bursts from his chest, he looks at the robot and does this little cheer, almost reaching his hands in the air. And again, it was just this moment of the movie. It was like, no, that was a really bad instinct, and you guys all should have known it. There's nothing scary about that. That is only ridiculous and silly.
Yeah. But there's also, like, this scene where he's still not sure about the robot, but he's pretty suspicious of him, and then he notices the robot's, like, taming an alien as you would a wild deer, holding out your hand for it to sniff, and then he's got his gun, so he kills the alien, and then he's got it pointed at the robot, and he's like, tell us what's going on. So the robot's like, okay, come and look in this thing, and then it's a pod that's opened up, and there's obviously this monster thing. Bends over to have a closer look, and then a thing jumps on his face. I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah. And there's nothing to fear. He goes back to that Warner's character in Piranha. There's no way they could ever reach the open ocean. Like he was just clearly bad. And that will go to another thing. I like Fassbender as an actor, and I think he's got a really interesting scene with himself in about the midway point of this movie. But they try to do this switcheroo where the good robot is killed by the bad robot, but takes his spot. Mm-hmm. And I totally saw that coming.
That was the least shocking shock.
And they were really trying to make this the big thing, that the whoa shit, pull the rug out from under you moment of the movie. And it's another one of those things when you really thought you had me there, right? And you didn't.
That feels like a number of Family Guy parodies of 1970s movies where somebody's a robot and which of the robots do you shoot, and then you shoot one and then there was one with Peter, and then at the end when they were hugging and it turns out he was the robot.
All along.
They've been doing those sketches on Family Guy for about 25 years now, so maybe it's not quite as... I mean, I get that Ridley Scott's like 98 years old, so he's not quite as cutting edge as he might once have been, but somebody should have said something, because if it wasn't like, if we had seen what was happening, so we didn't think like they think they're so much smarter than us, right. Like they could have just had good robot become bad or them switch places or something, but to try to fool us with it, and it felt annoying.
So where the movie works for me is actually the bare bones monster movie stuff. The jump out of the dark, that dude who gets his fucking jaw ripped off of his face, and even that ridiculous sex scene in the shower. I had a big smile on my face while that was happening. This is the provenance of like Friday the 13th right now. Like we've just gone to a completely different movie. But I was liking that. A lot of people really reacted really hostile to this when they watched the Alien movies. To me, it almost feels like they maybe overcorrected from Prometheus, or somebody was butthurt over the blowback on Prometheus. Oh, fine, you don't want 2001? Well, then we'll give you Friday the 13th. Obviously, you're too dumb to handle 2001, right?
But Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, it was better at being a monster movie than it was at being a sci-fi movie in a lot of ways.
But it was a sci-fi monster movie that was probably about 20 minutes too long, and because there were long swaths of pretentious stuff and Paradise Lost shit and I think quite uninteresting religious allegories that were really, really slowing it down. So I could just... there were things that worked really well. The spaceship stuff worked really well. Even before the whole alien business, I was liking the movie because I was just liking the world that they were creating on the spaceship. But then they'd stop in some interminable flashback where they're being pretentious and listening to Wagner because that's the fanciest music that Ridley Scott's ever heard of. Or, you just got the feeling that the director thought that he was really smart with all of these not so smart bits.
I think they were trying something with the Crudup character too, because he was still a person of faith, and you got the feeling like in this world that was a very rare thing now. People who still clung to that were sort of like considered very old school. And I liked seeing that, recognized in sort of the science fiction context. But part of me honestly feels like if you're on a spaceship colonizing people to spread the seed of humanity across the galaxy, then you're probably not counting on this spiritual godfather to be looking after you, right? It looks like you're looking after the human race.
I mean, I could imagine. I was really curious about where they were going to go with the fact that he had religious faith and there were lots of allegories, and then it turns out they're going nowhere.
Yeah.
There's all the scenes where he mentioned his faith could have been cut, and not a single thing would have changed otherwise.
Yeah. I think what we had there was a really good actor who managed to make a meal out of a part that might not have been as good otherwise.
Yeah.
But I did like him. And overall, I did like the movie. I feel like I was in the minority on this when a lot of people really fucking hated this movie. I liked that the aliens were a little bit scary again. I was really missing that in the last few installments of Alien. When they have that big over-the-top action sequence where it's crawling on the outside of the ship as they're going off, it's kind of like a little bit over silly.
I felt like I might have been watching an Avengers movie at that point.
But that alien trying to break through the windscreen and eat Danny McBride looked like it was really fucking meaning business. And I really...
because you want Danny McBride to live.
Yeah, and I really liked, I was in it. Yeah. And I never got that involved with Prometheus. So... overall, I'm lukewarm, but I'm happy to report I liked it a lot more than the previous chapter.
What I would say about this is we apparently are doing these movies in a completely random order. I think Alien Covenant is a great movie to start with because it's an absolute baseline.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing too bad or too good about it, so you can measure the general overall quality of the rest of them by how they stack up to this perfectly mediocre, some good, some bad aspects movie.
And that's basically my review. Like, if you're in for another Alien movie, here it is. Like, if it sounds like something you would want to watch, go ahead and watch it.
Easily better than Alien 3.
There you go. Good enough?
Good enough.